Recording in 3, 2, and 1. Welcome to episode 151 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 151. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Jeffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. And I think I slept wrong. I'm sore.
Sore?
Yeah, I've got a crick in my upper back, lower neck. Ah, jeez. Ah.
Sure it's not from golf swinging?
No, well, maybe. I don't know. We played uh 15 holes, 14 holes yesterday before the
Wow.
wind just got to be too much.
Yeah, it's real windy up here.
It's very windy. I mean, we've got huge wind gusts. I'm hoping it's going to lighten up a little bit this afternoon. It's getting warm. So hopefully I get to play again a little bit later, but I hope the wind is down. The wind just, I, I don't know. Sometimes it kills me because, I try to play the wind and sometimes I hit these balls that the wind just does nothing to it. I mean, the wind is gusting 25 miles an hour to the left, and
It doesn't
so
catch it.
no, and so I hit into the right so I can make it force it left, and then I just cut right through it. It gets maddening sometimes. It's a maddening game. It's a very frustrating game. Uh,
Yes.
so I and I went to Sam's yesterday, and it drives me insane. I think I've talked about this before that I've seen this, but saw it yesterday. I pulled into an empty parking spot, which was right next to the cart stall, and
Yes.
sitting in the spot was a cart. And it's like,
Next to the cart stall.
yes, and it's like, people, are you really this lazy? You can't move it a couple of feet over to the cart stall. That drives me batty. It
Oh
drives
my
me
god. It
absolutely
it would
batty.
be easier to put it in the cart stall than it would be dead center in a parking spot.
Right, because they got to move it to the front of their car, and
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't I don't understand people sometimes, and I see it. I see it so much. It drives me batty. Drives me batty. Um, Almost done with the Fallout show. Got 2 episodes to go. God, it's been so good.
Yeah, it is.
The music that they pulled from the game has been great. The Easter eggs that have been in it have been absolutely great. They have already greenlit season 2. Um, and I mean, and it's bolstered the Fallout franchise because
Oh yeah.
they have record numbers of people playing now, which is so funny. I see videos of Fallout all over Facebook now and everything, and it's like, people, this has been out for a long time.
Yeah, it's been out for a while, man.
It's a great game. It's a fun game. But the show, I thought they've done so well. I've really really enjoyed it. The show just makes me happy.
Yeah.
Makes me so happy.
It's great, and they play it all up. It's everything is jingoistic, and
Yes.
it is the game.
Yes.
Or
Yes.
all the stuff from the past, from 2077. I don't know, 2077.
2077 is when the bombs dropped, if I
Yeah,
remember
the
right.
first time,
And
as
yeah,
opposed to Sandy Shores when they launched nukes again.
right. Because the story takes place like 200 years after the bombs have dropped.
Oh my god, it's
Uh,
so messed up. So
I know
messed
it's
up.
great. Walt Goggins is amazing in
Hulk
it.
Hawkins is amazing.
So great. I read that the first time they put him in makeup, it took like 5 hours, but they've got that whittled down to about 2 now.
Nice.
So can you imagine sitting in a chair stiff for 5 hours
5 hours.
while they put prosthetics on you and everything like that? It's so wild.
All right, this is gonna dry. This is gonna take about 20 minutes to dry. Then you can go pee.
Right. Maybe they put a catheter on
Eh,
them. Another show I picked up that I didn't watch when it was new out, but I picked it up. I love lawyer shows,
mhm.
and Boston Legal is
Oh yeah.
very funny.
Oh, we watch that every episode. Diddy Crane,
Yeah.
Mad Cow.
Yeah, I'm in season 4 of it. There's 5 seasons total, but I've so enjoyed it. It's been so great. I mean, James Spader, it, basically, eh, you could almost believe that Alan Shore in the TV series is really Stefan from
It's a Steven all grown
Pretty in
up.
Pink. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, because he's really that same character, and he's brilliant in it. William Shatner is brilliant. Candice Bergen. I mean, it's a brilliant cast, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Um, I, I I hate for it to be over, and like I said, I can't believe that's one I didn't catch new. That's been a great one.
Yeah.
Thoroughly enjoyed it. Well, anything new with you, or you want to step right into it?
I can say that we've kind of redone some of the house, so the
Mm,
little laundry area, which is where I am now, is kind of becoming the new nerd area.
mm-hmm.
So I can record and quiet, and there's you can't see it now, but there's stuff all over the walls now, all my toys and stuff put up. I got my laser disc working, and last night I played like 4 hours worth of Masters of Orion, and it was
Oh,
awesome.
really? The original?
Yeah,
Oh, well.
it's on Good Old Games. You can buy the original and number two for like $3 and put them on whatever you want to put them on.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And it loads DOSBox, so it loads directly. Matter of fact, when you quit, it's quit to DOS, and it drops up that little DOS box, and it's great.
Interesting. Interesting. The going back to Fallout real quick, if you have Amazon Prime, I think Fallout 3, 4, New Vegas, and 76, I believe, are free.
Yeah, while the Fallout series is going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, I think I need to get New Vegas. I started playing New Vegas and I never finished it. And a lot of people say that New Vegas is the best one. So I may need to download that and play it. So awesome. Well, why don't you take over on the nerdery side of the house?
Excellent. Today we're gonna talk about Galoob toys.
Okay.
Louis Galoob Toys Incorporated was a toy company headquartered in South San Francisco, California. They're best known for creating micro machines, which accounted for 50% of its sales in 1989, and distributed the Game Genie in the United States. Louis Galoob Toys was founded in 1957 by Louis Galoob and his wife, Barbara Galoob, as a small distributor of toys and stationery. Galoob's first toy success was the reintroduction of a battery-powered Jolly Chimp, a cymbal-banging monkey toy that nodded his head when activated. The company was incorporated in 1968.
I'm sorry,
19,
you said the Game Genie. You're talking about the little cheating cartridge for Nintendo?
yes,
Ah, okay.
and Genesis, and a Game
Okay.
Genie for Genesis too. In 1970, excuse me, Louis Galoob became too ill to continue as president, and his 21-year-old son David dropped out of the University of Southern California to take over the family business. In partnership with his brother, Vice President Robert Galoob, David aggressively pursued new product development and transformed the company into a million-dollar business by 1976. The company was greatly affected by the financial collapse of Black Monday in 1987, a year in which it lost 25 million. But the following year it recovered by generating a profit of 6 million. And by 1988, the company manufactured 85% of its toys in China. Galoob was involved in a landmark intellectual property lawsuit, Louis Galoob Toys Inc. versus Nintendo of America Inc. over the Nintendo Entertainment System's version of the Game Genie. Nintendo charged that the Game Genie violated copyright by creating an unlicensed derivative of their copyrighted games. Galoob won the lawsuit and continued to produce the Game Genie. In September of 1998, American toy giant Hasbro purchased Galoob for $220 million. Today, Galoob is a Hasbro brand name. The name begins appearing on retail products starting in 2005. So Galoob went away and it came back. Hasbro has used the Galoob brand logo on its Titanium Series die-cast metal collectibles. And my monitor just went off.
Oh, fun. Okay.
And it's back.
Awesome.
Sorry about that. I don't know why that happened. I think I bumped something. So Galoob now exists as an imprint of Hasbro. Um, they also the diecast collectibles are various items from Transformers, Star Wars, and Battlestar Galactica. So the little diecast figures. Um, some of the things that they did that were pretty big were Aliens, the A Team, the Adventures of the Galaxy Rangers, which were not released in America, the Animal 4x4, Anastasia toys from the Anastasia, the 1997 film, Army Gear, Baby Buddies, Babyface. They did some Babylon 5 toys, which are really hard to find. Battle Squad's military action figures, Beat Street, Black Star, which is the Black Star,
On the cartoon.
yeah, cartoon series. Like 2 years after the cartoon went off the air. But what was amazing is when they came out with the figures, they brought the cartoon back
Hmm.
for a season or two. Biker Mice from Mars, Bouncing Babies, Chrysler. So I'm assuming Chrysler toys. Cutie Club, Defenders of the Earth, Dinosaurs, Dozy Doll, Dragonflies, Fancy Sounds, The Game Genie, the Garbage Pail Kid TV series
Oh, wow.
toys.
Wow.
Yeah. Ghostbusters from the 1984 film, Go Monkey Go, which I believe is the clapping monkey. And I can't talk about that without doing this. Sorry. Golden Girls toys.
Golden Girls.
No. Hollywood's The Infaceables, Johnny Quest, The Real Adventures, The Last Starfighter, which was not released, which is sad because those would have been some cool toys.
Yeah.
Lost and Found, Magic Diapers, Macro Machines, Micro Machines, the Titanium series Micro Machine Transformers in conjunction with Hasbro, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Mr. Game Show, Married with Children, Marvel Comics, Men in Black, Mutant League, Peugeot, Peeper Pals, Pal Puppies, Power Machines, Punky. You know what? There's a lot. And World Championship Wrestling. That was a big one.
Jeez.
And Star Trek The Next Generation toys were Galoob.
Hmm.
And so they were producing those Galoob series where they would do one in every outfit. Do you remember those?
No.
All right, so they had they started with the bridge crew and a couple of little shuttles and things. And then it was like, oh, we'll do Picard in his little captain's outfit. Oh, we'll do Worf in his Klingon outfit when he's with the kid. And then they just expanded on that, and there were hundreds of these. And you may only see this character in this one outfit in one scene, but Galoob made a toy for it.
Hmm.
They also did some toys for Star Trek V: The Final Frontier.
I wonder why just that one.
I don't know. I think the rest of them were still owned by Mego at the time, and Mego's producing them now. Matter of fact, I want to say Mego got some of the Galoob licenses.
Final Frontier was the Shatner one, wasn't it?
Yes.
Where they went to go meet God.
Where they went to go meet God,
Yeah.
and they asked why God needed a starship.
Yeah.
Z-Bots was another one. The thing that they were most known for, other than the Star Trek toys, the Babylon 5 stuff, was Micro Machines. Micro Machines were these tiny little cars. I mean, tiny, like an inch long.
Mm-hmm.
You see, yeah, about an inch long, and you could pull them back and let them go, and they would, race across the floor. In some cases, you couldn't pull them back; they just rolled. But they were these tiny little cars, and they made millions of them. I mean, thousands of different models. Cars, trucks, trains, emergency vehicles, tanks, boats, airplanes, helicopters, and motorcycles. And the Tough Track series contained many of the popular TNT Motorsport monster trucks, including the influential Gravedigger truck. They did Star Trek and Star Wars models. They sold them in packs, and they were about 2 inches long. They're kind of on the toy market. They're kind of a big deal. They sell them in packs of like 20, and there was, I think, 5 different series. Everything, every cool ship you could think of was there, and they were about the size of the little Star Wars diecast game,
Hmm.
about that size. Um, what's the name of that game?
I don't remember. I can look it up.
Yeah, where you had the little you buy the little models and then you fight other battles.
Oh, X-Wing.
Yes, X-wing. Yeah, about that size. Of course, they did capital ships and little fighter ships as well. They also did Babylon 5, a bunch of stories, toys like that. They did some Power Rangers micro machines, Men in Black, and James Bond and Indiana Jones, which I thought was odd, but like you could buy the old plane. Um, After being bought by Hasbro, Winner's Circle, NASCAR, and GI Joe themed cars and playsets were also added. While the Micro Machines collection is known primarily for sizing down automobiles, it has also featured several playsets, including the 1991's fold-out Super Van City. Licensed characters products would often be fold open heads, including miniature characters and vehicles interactive with their playset environments. Micro Machines also utilizes several diverse features such as color changing cars and privatized vehicles that even allow one to peek inside and view an illustration of the contents. The open heads design, Kim has some of those. It's like a Darth Vader, and you open it up, and there's little figures and like a Tie fighter bay. Those are really cool, but very very tiny, very intricate. One of the mini Micro Machine product lines was the Inside series, incredibly popular in the late 80s and early 90s. The Insider series featured a small vehicle inside the standard size Micro Machine.
I remember those.
Yeah, the body and chassis of the larger vehicle connected via a hinge, opening the larger, revealing the smaller, which was generally a different model of car. I did not realize that. Micro Machines also released special presidential limousine series, which included President Harry Truman's 1950 Lincoln Cosmopolitan bubble top limousine, President Kennedy's Lincoln Continental, or the X100 convertible limousine, and President Carter's 1977 Lincoln Town Car, which featured the series, um, was done in 1988. I could tell you that Kennedy's Lincoln, after they got it to the shop and cleaned it up, LBJ continued to use it. So did Nixon.
Hmm.
For 3 to 4 years, Micro Machine was the largest selling toy car line in the U.S. with a total dollar sale exceeding the combined sales of the next top selling lines. That's Hot Wheels, Matchbox, and Majorette. So Micro Machines sold better than all of those three together. It did have a well-known advertising campaign in the 80s involving fast talker John Mosqueda Jr. The commercials featured pitches in his trademark speedy style and ended with the slogan, "If it doesn't say Micro Machines, it's not the real thing." Um, I wanted to do one of those for the stabs, but I can't. I can't do what he does. The guy talks really fast, but it's also very clear. You can understand everything he says. Um, and that was his shtick as a pitchman. And he did those Micro Machines. And what was amazing is by the end of the 80s, it wasn't just the sound of his voice. They actually showed him his face holding the cars. It was amazing. In the 1990s, transforming playsets were released. Some could transform from one playset to another, such as the factory to a test track, and others could transform from giant vehicles to playsets, such as 6x6 to a jungle. Earlier releases included models that could transform from a toolbox to a city. Another innovative release was a line of special boats in the 1990s. While past boats had merely sunk and were not intended for water use, these new sets could actually float. So they actually made floatable little boats. I bet lots of kids lost their boats on those ponds
Hmm.
all around the country. Oh, hey, look, my boat floats. Oh, hey, it's gone. Because, it's only 2 inches long. When sold to Hasbro, the basic line was largely discontinued and new packaging of the toys did not catch on. In 2006, the brand name was visible only in the detail panels of the Star Wars and Transformer Titanium series diecast vehicles and figures. And some of those are really, really nice. The thing about the Micro Machines is, even though they were very, very small, um, they were very, very detailed. And they were diecast, so metal. And they're really kind of tough. I mean, it was kind of hard to break them. Like a Matchbox car or a Hot Wheels, but smaller. Um, Micro Machines were great.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the Galoob also did that. Um, the Black Star series. Like I said, they did it for a right after the series was over, and it was out for about 2 or 3 years, and they brought the series back for another season or two. I mean, it was some reruns, but then it wasn't new material, but just basically so they could sell the toy lines. The toys were He-Man size because the idea was you could use the Black Star toys in league with your He-Man toys, and a lot of people did. They were really cool. They had a lot of sparking features on them. Um,
Sparking.
so you could get a guy's chest to light up.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah, and the swords would combine together, which is what happened in Black Star. I loved it. And of course they were all in those big old heroic poses. I would say that some of them are actually better than some of the He-Man stuff, especially in the first run of the He-Man stuff. Um, not so much later on, but yeah, some of the poses for the Black Star stuff was really really nice. You also got like all the Throbbits. They would come with the like you get the Black Star and you'd have a Throbbit. You'd get you'd get Clone and you get another Throbbit. So you got all the Throbbits if you collected the main characters. Um, the Babylon 5 toys are really nice. I actually did action figures for Babylon 5, as well as the little micro machines of the ships, which are really incredibly detailed. Babylon 5 didn't get a lot of love from marketing, things like that. So it was nice to see some of those, and you can go out and still get those. Again, they're kind of rare, but the Micro Machine playsets, just like the Star Trek playsets, seem to sell more. So there's more of that stuff out there, and you can get some of those really, really great ships. And pose them with your Star Wars and your Star Trek ships, and have epic space battles because it's awesome. You know, if you're a grown adult who likes to play with toys, and I am. But that is about it for Galoob toys. Not much, um, but it's one of those things for toy collectors. Some of that stuff out there is amazing, and you guys should go out and check it out. You can still find that Black Star stuff pretty readily available. The toys sold really well,
Mm-hmm.
in comparison to the series. A-Team figures are real big. Galoob also did them. Their heads are kind of cartoonish, but other than that, they're pretty solid figures. And you can get the van, and they all fit in the van. But yeah, that's about it for Galoob toys. Other than get out there, give them some love, check some of the stuff out, see some of the stuff in the YouTube playlist. I put some toy collectors up showing off their collections
Mm.
and how they work, and some of the Micro Machine ads, so you can see how fast that John Mosquito Jr. can talk, because it's amazing, especially how fast he talks and how clear it is.
That's cool. Um, I love going through these. Just getting reminded of the history of these toys and whatnot. I agree with Zig. Definitely check out on our webpage. Check out those toys. There's some very interesting stuff we grew up with, and
Yeah,
brings back a lot of memories. But it's cool stuff. Go check that out. Well, thank
yeah,
thank you.
yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, you could pick up Micro Machines at the used uh, places, like a Goodwill or something. Pick a couple
Yeah,
up, set them up
yeah.
on your shelf. They look good. They're good looking little things. They're nice to have.
Hmm.
Really cool and sturdy.
Yeah, I know. I do remember seeing some micro machines at like thrift stores and things like that. So
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, cool. With that, then I will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off ABC News, Medium, Wikipedia, and the Charlie Project, and this is the disappearance of Michele Harris.
Michele Harris.
Yeah, I found this one fairly fascinating, and you'll know. why real quick. Um, Michelle Ann Taylor, she met a very well-known businessman, Cal Harris, in the early 1980s. She spent some time working for their family-owned car dealerships before she and Cal had their wedding in 1990. They had three children before their marriage would start to become strained, and she would actually become pregnant with their fourth child when their marriage would completely crumble. By early 2001, divorce proceedings had begun, and Cal wasn't happy about the divorce and tried to convince Michelle to reconsider, but she had made up her mind. So, the morning of September 11th, 2001, when the world
Oh,
changed forever for the US,
wow.
and actually the world changed forever everywhere. Michelle had spent the morning at her home in Spencer, New York, which she still shared with her soon to be ex husband and their four children. Um, she worked at a restaurant named Lefty's Restaurant. She left for work that afternoon to go there. After work, she had a couple of drinks with friends and then visited with her boyfriend Brian, who she becomes seeing in the next town over. So divorce proceedings were going on, but she already had a boyfriend,
Okay. Brian.
Brian. Michelle left his house just after 11 p.m., telling him she was heading home. It had been a really long day for her. She was very emotional over it, what happened that day, especially being so close to
Yeah.
New York
Imagine,
City.
imagine she could probably see the smoke.
The next morning, Cal woke up and realized Michelle hadn't come home the night before. He called their nanny and housekeeper to see if she could come over that morning and help get the kids off to school. She said she'd be there as soon as possible. And when she arrived at the Harris estate, she found Michelle's gold minivan parked at the end of the driveway, but there were no signs of Michelle. She drove up to the house and told Cal, and shortly authorities were notified because Michelle had just disappeared.
She parked her van in the driveway and she was gone.
Her van was parked in the driveway. I never said she parked her van in the driveway.
Okay. All right. That's fair.
I think that's a good detail point there.
Her van was parked in the driveway and she was nowhere to be seen.
Yes.
Okay.
So Michelle Taylor was born on September 29th, 1965 in New York, where she would also grow up and attend college. Again, in the early 80s, she had met prominent local businessman Cal Harris. He had come from a well-known family in Owego, New York, known for owning several car dealerships. Um, in 1990, they would marry. Soon after they married, they would have children. Yes, sir.
Car dealerships in the 80s.
Hmm.
I bet he's mobbed up.
Don't
I'm sorry.
know.
Please continue.
Don't know. In 1991, the marriage started to fail when Michelle discovered, while she was pregnant with their youngest child, that Cal had been having an affair with another clerk at one of the car lots. He justified this affair on the grounds she was not keeping the house clean enough. Yeah. When she confronted him, he promised to end it, but as she later learned, he didn't. He rekindled it on a vacation trip to Barbados. They lived on a 252-acre estate in Spencer, New York, and for a while things were okay until they just weren't. Many allegations have flown around about this time in Cal and Michelle's marriage, but each would be accused of having an affair, maybe multiple affairs. By the time Michelle was pregnant with their fourth child, things were extremely rocky. They had begun fighting constantly. After her son was born in October 2000, she stopped sharing a bed with her husband and began sleeping on a couch in the home. A month later, at a bar, she met Brian Early, who was a younger man visiting the area of Philadelphia, where he worked as a surveyor. Uh, Soon, the two of them were having discreet meetings in the Poconos of nearby northeastern Pennsylvania. They used phone cards when they called each other so that the caller ID would display as a random jumble of numbers in order to keep the relationship secret from Cal and their children. Again, by early 2001, divorce proceedings had begun, and they had four children and a substantial number of assets to comb through. The next several months would be very cumbersome with attorney meetings and court filings. And during the first half of the year, Cal repeatedly told Michelle he would not let her divorce him.
200
Uh,
acres in upstate New York. That's
252.
not cheap.
No, no. Barb Thayer, the couple's nanny, recalls hearing frequent loud arguments. Cal tried to get Michelle's family to talk her out of the divorce, believing she had been influenced by the people she was increasingly associating with and claimed she might even be using drugs. Michelle told her sisters at one point that in March, Cal told her during an argument that he would not need a gun to kill her and the police would never be able to find her body. She also let her hairdresser overhear Cal threaten to kill her and make her disappear over the phone in July. The court did order Michelle and Cal to continue sharing the home, which they lived with their children, which they did. But again, Michelle had allegedly been dating someone, which she was. But Cal tried to talk her out of the divorce. During this time, Cal was giving Michelle $400 a week. And to help make ends meet, Michelle also got a job at a restaurant in town, which we talked about earlier, which was Lefty's.
Mhm.
Their relationship did become violent a few times, and Michelle would end up getting a restraining order against Cal. But even though
How
they
did
were
she get a restraining order? The judge ordered them to share the house.
well, in that I'm not really clear on. It's really weird because they were supposed to remain living together, but Cal was told by the court he was supposed to leave Michelle alone, and because he allegedly threatened her, he was ordered to remove all the guns from their house.
Okay.
He did take the guns to a family member's house for safekeeping. So get this one. In early September, Cal, along with his attorney, made a settlement offer to Michelle. He would give her $80,000 a year for spousal and child support, and would give her
In
sole custody.
2001?
Huh? Yeah.
Damn.
And she would also get sole custody of their 4 children. She thought it over, and Michelle had told her friend she had been planning to take the offer because she was really ready to get on with her life. The beginning of September 2001 brought a lot of changes for Michelle. She decided to go forward with the settlement offer, and they had an appointment at an attorney's office on September 12th.
Oh, wow.
Michelle was also planning a trip to New York City on September 13 and 14 to visit some friends and, according to some, pawn off some of her jewelry. But again, the morning of September 11th, 2001 would change those plans.
Yeah, that city shut down.
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is the day the World Trade Center was struck by terrorists, and for all of us, the day stood still that day. Just terrifying day. Michelle spent the morning at home, and she watched the events unfold on TV, as a lot of us did. She knew her upcoming trip to the city wasn't happening, and she was said to be quite emotional over the tragedy. Michelle commented to friends that seeing this tragedy made her realize that her problems were not nearly as big as she thought. It put things in perspective for her, and she wanted to move on with the divorce. She wanted to quit fighting with Cal, and she just wanted to focus on their children. That afternoon, Michelle had a shift at Lefty's. She went to work, and afterwards, she stayed to have a drink with a couple of other employees, including the man she was having the secret relationship with, Brian Early. She stayed at his place for a bit after they left, mostly talking about what was happening in New York. And around 11:30 p.m., Michelle told him she was going to head home. The next morning, Cal woke up for work as usual, noticed Michelle wasn't there. We talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Again, he called his housekeeper and nanny Barb and asked if she could come over to help with the kids. Barb had other engagements. She canceled them that morning and headed to the house. As she approached the estate in Spencer, she again noticed Michelle's minivan parked on the side of the road near their long driveway. She
Oh, it
stopped.
wasn't in the driveway. It was parked on the side of
Uh,
the road.
well, it's kind of a little confusing. I think it may have been kind of in the driveway, but maybe slightly off. But it was near the end of their long driveway.
Okay.
She did stop to look to wonder if Michelle was inside, but she wasn't. So she continued to drive up the house. She went inside and she called for Michelle, but it was Cal who answered her. Barb figured Michelle was there because of the van at the end. Cal said they better go down and get it. It was later noted that he was very calm and unfazed that her van was where it was. The keys were in the van, but there was no sign of Michelle anywhere. Cal at first said that he had just believed that she was likely with one of her boyfriends, plural. It is unclear who made the official call to the police, but soon Michele Harris was reported as missing. The family again was very well known in town. The police immediately came out to take the missing persons report. However, this was just one day after the September 11th attacks, and a large portion of the police force locally had traveled down to New York City to assist with the rescue, recovery, and help provide security. This is when Cal told authorities that Michele might have gone off with a boyfriend. The police did interview Brian Early, who was exceptionally cooperative and devastated that they couldn't find Michele. They had been seeing each other for a while now, and he had moved to the area from Philadelphia specifically to be closer to Michele. And he had said he had hoped to marry her after her divorce. However, unbeknownst to her best friends, Michele was having a relationship with a manager at Lefty's, a man named Michael Casper. So she did have multiple boyfriends. Police did interview him, and he was also very cooperative. He said he last saw Michele around 9:30 p.m. on September 11th when she left the restaurant. Both men took polygraphs and passed, whether you believe
Yeah.
polygraphs or not. And authorities have said that while they aren't ruling them out, neither of them were considered a person of interest. As for what they did with Michele's minivan, it's unclear. Some stories say that Cal had the van cleaned after Michele's disappearance, but that was said to be not true. Searches of the area turned up no signs of Michele. A search of the home did uncover a few drops of blood in the garage on the wall and more on the doorway to the house. A blood expert, Joseph Anderson, would say later that the splatter was consistent with some type of blunt force, but there's others who have disputed that. This was
How much are
obtained,
we talking?
it was just drops.
Oh, so
It was
because I
just drops.
okay.
However, this was what gave police the ability to obtain a search warrant for the house. Further investigations discovered similar bloodstains in the foyer and the kitchen near the garage. There was a presumptive test found that from the substance that left the stains to be human blood, and it was collected and preserved later for DNA tests. Anderson believed there was also evidence that additional blood had been present but had been cleaned, and the house now considered the house a crime scene. The police now considered the house a crime scene. The same day, Cal and members of Michele's family gathered for a dinner in Cooperstown. There, two of her sisters confronted him about a threat he had made in March to kill Michele and dispose of the body so that it'd never be found, as well as the 1996 incident when Michele had called from a closet where she hid as Cal repeatedly cocked a shotgun outside. He denied the incidents, but then Cal eventually admitted to the threat but claimed he had not been serious. And the sisters testified later that the conversation was very uncomfortable for him. When Cal returned to Spencer, investigators asked him about the bloodstains. He initially was unable to explain them, but later said that Michele had cut herself in the garage the month before. With his permission, they searched his truck and an all-terrain vehicle and searched Michele's car extensively, almost to the point of disassembly. Among its contents were Michele's cell phone, which registered one missed call and a voicemail from a worried friend, and a black bag containing her jewelry. Forensic technicians found both Cal and Brian Early's fingerprints, as well as those of a third person besides Michele, but no blood. Without further evidence, police tried more discreet investigative techniques. They had troopers watch Cal's property using night vision goggles and camouflage to see if he might go anywhere under the cover of darkness. Starting in October, they also attached a GPS tracking device to his truck for 6 months to see if his movements might indicate a possible disposal site, but neither yielded any useful information. During the days and weeks after Michele vanished, Cal was very quiet. He didn't help in the search, and he stayed out of the spotlight. Some said he was very calm and unbothered. A week after Michele disappeared, Cal started selling off some of her personal belongings, which enraged some of Michele's family and friends. Many people, especially in Michelle's circle, began to suspect Cal of being involved in Michele's disappearance. They had had a very volatile relationship, and Cal had originally threatened to kill Michele before. Um, Cal denied all this and said Michelle had several boyfriends and relationships, and it's likely that one of them went wrong. He also said Michelle had begun drinking heavily and was using cocaine, although his friends and family deny this. There was no activity on Michelle's cell phone, credit cards, or bank accounts. um, in 2005, Michelle was still missing, but prosecutors felt they had enough circumstantial evidence for conviction, so they officially charged Cal with Michelle's murder. They had re-interviewed Jerome Wilczynski. God, Wilczynski. There we go. Uh,
Wilsinski?
yeah, and this was the hairdresser who Michelle had allowed to overhear Cal's violent, profane threats to her, including to kill her and make her disappear of the cell phone less than 2 months before she disappeared. When police first spoke to him shortly after that, he had not told them about the threats, but 4 years later he did. With the evidence of a second threat closer in time to the homicide that they believed it occurred, they felt they could now secure a conviction without the body. They believed that Cal and Michelle had a fight, something that wasn't uncommon, and Cal had murdered her and then disposed of her body. One of the rumored ways he had disposed of her was by putting her in a vehicle that was destined for a scrapyard to be crushed and demolished. Another theory was that she might be in Empire Lake, which was a lake on the Harris property, on their large property, but searches turned up no new clues. In 2007, the murder charge was thrown out by a judge due to some technicalities, but right away prosecutors filed murder charges against Cal a second time. In June of 2007, Cal was convicted of Michelle's murder, and during this judgment, Cal was emotional and he cried. Michelle and Cal's children stood by their father throughout this. In November of 2007, a judge overturned that conviction and ordered a new trial. And this was in part due to a new witness that had come forward after Cal's conviction. Kevin Tubbs, who was a local farmer, was unaware that Cal Harris's trial was in town. But the day after his conviction, he said he was reading a local newspaper and saw the headlines, and he knew he had to speak up and contact Cal's attorneys. Kevin said that on the night of September 11th, he was pulling a farm trailer down the road very slowly where Michelle and Cal lived off. He said he saw Michelle and her minivan off the side of the road, and there was a pickup truck pulled up behind it, and a man was arguing with Michelle. Cal's attorneys brought this information to the judge, who decided this warranted a new trial for Cal. That month, another man, John Steele, wrote the court a letter saying that he too had driven past the Harrises around the same time and had seen a man and woman arguing next to two vehicles. He later filed an affidavit making largely the same claims, but adding that he heard the man say, "Just get in the damn car." Steele's name would end up being redacted since he himself had been with a woman he had been having an affair with, and he feared retaliation from the district attorney's office if he were to be identified. For several months, the prosecution, while its appeal of the order was set aside for the verdict that was pending, they attempted to learn Steele's identity on the grounds it was needed for the ongoing police investigation. But in October 2008, he died,
Well,
which really kind of mooted the question of his identity and preventing him from being cross-examined, so the court ruled his testimony inadmissible. Another trial would commence, and once again in August of 2009, Cal was convicted of Michelle's murder and sentenced 25 years to life, and again he cried in the courtroom. However, in October of 2012, after 3 years in prison, Cal's conviction was once again overturned, and again prosecutors filed new charges and proceeded to try him for murder.
wait. Isn't that double jeopardy? No.
It's not double jeopardy because the conviction was overturned.
Overturned, not he was found innocent. Okay.
Yes, not found
Go ahead.
innocent, not vacated, anything like that, so they could proceed to try him again for murder.
Okay.
The double jeopardy's coming up. Cal and his defense team would now implicate a man who was working in the area and supposedly would have drinks with Michelle at the restaurant where she worked. This man was from Texas, and the defense now believed that he was the one seen arguing with Michelle in the late night, early mornings of September 12th. However, there was no evidence to prove this, and the trial ended up in a mistrial. In the spring of 2016, Cal decided on a bench trial instead of a jury and was acquitted of the murder. And now he cannot be tried again for the murder due to double jeopardy.
Okay.
However, Cal's legal troubles weren't over. He was accused of DUI and leaving the scene of an accident in 2017. And he would also be charged of stalking one of the state police investigators who worked on his trial. He was found guilty of the stalking charges, ordered to pay a fine, and to take anger management classes. Cal and Michelle's children have stood by their father. They believe that he's innocent. They said they've lost many years with him when he was incarcerated, but they know he didn't kill their mother. Michelle's family wholeheartedly believes that Cal did kill Michelle, and because of this, the children are estranged from Michelle's family.
So yeah, I bet that's a weird Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So Spencer, New York, it's a small town in upstate New York. It's only got a population of 3,000.
Hmm.
Um, Spencer is just south of the Finger Lake region of New York and just north of the Pennsylvania border. And this is an exceptionally rural area full of woods, meadows, creeks, and small lakes. They had,
We don't think, being from here, we don't think about New York as being very rural. Most
it is
of New York is
very
very
much so.
rural.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
it looks like East Texas.
They had no close neighbors. It's very private. And then behind the home is the Empire Lake, which we talked about, which covers 29 acres. So it's a pretty big lake. The lake was the focus of some intense searching, but nothing was found to lead them to Michelle. Um, the Harris family being very prominent in the area, they knew many people, and that, along with the fact that she disappeared just after September 11th, uh, bring many people to believe that that's what hindered the investigation from the beginning. Cal and his attorneys say that they received no special treatment, and in fact, they believe that law enforcement unfairly targeted him from the beginning and ignored evidence that might point to other suspects. Um, Once he was acquitted, he did sue the county law enforcement and many others in his case for harassment and malicious prosecution. However, that case is still going on, so we don't know the results at this point.
Right on.
Over the years, Cal would spend well over $2 million on his defense, but only offered a $10,000 reward for information about Michelle's whereabouts. Interestingly, Michelle did have a diary which she had documented abuse from Cal, and this was not allowed in court. Many people have questioned the validity of Kevin Stubbs' statement. That was the farmer who came forward.
Yeah.
This was a very well-known case at the time, and several have questioned how he couldn't know about it. He just happened to pick up a newspaper the day after Cal was convicted. How he hadn't seen the papers before is a little weird. At one point, an acquaintance of Kevin's came forward and said that if he helped Cal Harris out, he'd never have to work again. This, of course, implies he would be taking money from Cal or his family to come forward as a witness to help him get acquitted of Michelle's murder, but Kevin denies this. The lead investigator in the case has written a book alleging his theory how Cal Harris was framed and focuses on one of the men Michelle had reportedly dated at the time as more likely a suspect given some evidence found around his former house. So
Brian or the guy from the restaurant?
it doesn't say.
Okay.
I'd have to read the book. So I mean that leads to the question: what happened to Michelle Harris? She's described as a Caucasian woman, standing 5'2", weighing about 100 pounds. She was not a big woman at all. She had blonde hair and brown eyes. She has a tattoo of a flaming sun on her right ankle. She sometimes went by the nickname Shelley and may use the last name Taylor, which was her maiden name. She was last seen wearing khaki shorts and her Lefty's restaurant work shirt, which was a navy polo shirt. She had on white Snickers and wore a gold Rolex watch. She was 35 years old when she was last seen, and today would be 58. Anyone with information on Michelle Harris is asked to contact the New York State Police at 607 682 3961. And
If you see something, say something.
that's the story of the disappearance of Michelle Harris.
Well, thank you for that, sir. So it is distinctly possible this woman could still be alive.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think Cal killed her.
You think Cal killed her?
I think Cal killed her. I think he displayed evidence of that throughout the marriage and the threats to kill her, saying he could hide a body and they'd never find her. I don't know how thorough their investigation of Empire Lake was.
Hmm.
Being a very wooded rural area, she could be anywhere out in those woods. I don't know if cadaver dogs were ever brought in. I have no idea, but I think Cal did it. So I think he got away with murder. So that's my story for this week.
Well, thank you, sir.
Thank you. That'll take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find our information on nerderymurdery.com. That's our hub. That's where you can find everything about us. You can also find links to this episode, pictures we found interesting from the episode, as well as a link to our YouTube page with Zig So Often updates.
Yes, there should be plenty of information on these toys, and where you can actually see them and people pick them up and play with them and show you, as well as some of those Micro Machine commercials, which are outstanding.
Awesome. You can also find the link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your Nerdery Murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing some merchandise from that. That, along with the link to our Patreon, our patrons do help us with the costs that are associated with this show. It does cost to keep us on the air, keep broadcasting, and keep sending this wonderful show that y'all all so enjoy listening to. So please do consider purchasing some merchandise or becoming a patron to help us out.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. And last but not least, please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the topics we discuss. So with that,
I have been Zig with your nerdery.
and I'm Jeffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.